So, hi everyone, and thank you for joining me again for another session of All Things Business Guy. And my name is Daniel Akett. I'm the founder of Stigma app, and also the Trusted Sales Academy, and of course, the All Things Business Guy. And really the purpose of this is to start to have real, deep, meaningful conversations about what's really happening in the workplace. And what's really happening is that, or what we know today, is that over 70% of people hate their jobs. That people are struggling, that they really are hating their jobs. And the other thing that we know is that over 60% of students change their career path in their first year of college. So whatever's happening is not working. And it really is creating a space of uncertainty. It is creating a space of vulnerability as well in students, and also obviously in the workplace. But my absolute goal here is to have incredible conversations with ordinary people. Sorry to call you ordinary, Sally. And but those people that are doing really extraordinary things in the world. And this is the mission, this is the purpose of today. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Sally Cope, who's my wonderful guest today. Sally, tell me in a brilliant way what you do, what you specialize in.
Okay, good morning. Let's start again. Hello, everyone. It's morning. You see, when we're recording this, that's why I said good morning. True British way. I'm Sally Cope, and I help people get rid of the chaos in their business. And I don't come and work for them. I work alongside them to enable them to survive, grow, and thrive. So, how did I get into this? Really, it's so my background is in teaching. For more years than I care to remember. And what I saw there was, coming from what we're talking about, is that the education doesn't really fit the outside world. Right. So when I got out of education, I wanted to marry together the business world with what sort of suits with education, really, sort of seeing what needs to be done from there. Grew in the meantime from that, grew 4 businesses, starting off with property, and then sort of as a business going into business, that side of it. And my purpose is always to make a difference and to help people. So in my business, I'm always looking to help businesses. I'm helping to help businesses with their people. And I'm also helping young people to actually get in the right business, make the right choices, and then also to grow from there, and to be able to do what they want to do rather than what they're asked to do.
On one of the previous conversations I had with another podcaster, there was this concept of being in a box. How are you seeing at the moment in your industry people kind of getting put into boxes or getting put into these kind of enclosed spaces? Obviously it suits businesses and big corporate and big companies, whatever it is, to have everybody in their box, because that means that everybody is doing what they've been told and allocated to do. Like, how are you seeing this as a problem in your industry at the moment?
So years ago, I'm sounding very old now, years ago, you could do that. You could put people in a box. You could say, this is the role I want, and the people would go and do it. But the world has changed since then. Technology is moving faster than any of us can even think about. The jobs don't exist at the moment for the people who are at school, at the moment. So you've got to think from that point of view. And it's also, including the pandemic, has given us all a bit more freedom and a bit more time to actually look at what do we want to do and why are we doing this? And I think this is coming across more and more and more in the workforce. Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to go and sit in this office? Why do I need to do what's being asked of me? And I think the problem then is that businesses are not moving with those times. They're thinking about this is what they need from the person. They're not actually thinking about what the person, what their employees, what they need and what they can bring.
Well, this is amazing, because this is everything that we're trying to do at Stigma app. Stigma app is launching this year, hopefully very soon. And the intention behind Stigma app is to obviously allow people to measure their happiness score. And we do that by measuring 10 different metrics confidentially within teams. So the team leader can really see where things are working and not working in the business without victimizing any of their staff. So it's something that's very different that's currently available. But also, I wanted to talk about the second part, which is personality profiling, because, personality profiling has traditionally been seen by employees as a way that their employers are trying to put them in a box. Whereas what's interesting about this at the moment, and it's maybe the way that it's just been presented, but what's interesting about this, and exactly what you're saying, is that people at school now, people at junior school, whatever it is, they might be thinking about a specific job, but in 10 years' time, that job might not be available. So it's so valuable because it's more powerful to work towards what you're good at in terms of operations or functions, or if that's either research or people-based or, ideas-based or whatever it is, because then you can apply that knowledge to any type of, role that comes up by spontaneity in the future. But if we're working towards like being an accountant or something like that, I can guarantee you that Xero and what's the other one, the other big one, QuickBooks or whatever it is, and many other companies are working really hard to take accountants' jobs away from them. I mean, you already can, as a business owner, file your own taxes. You can do everything. It does everything for you. So what's the point of an accountant right now is really in kind of in question in the near future. So I wanted to table this to you in terms of whether you think that or what you think the importance is of people starting to understand more about themselves and what their natural strengths and natural abilities are as they go into the workforce, into their future.
Absolutely. This is the crucial part. It's about, as you said, understanding yourself and your natural abilities, and also getting the businesses to understand that as well. So, it's all about the person. It's all about what they're bringing to the table, because you can train people to do what you want, what you need them to do, within reason, obviously. But it's sort of like, but it's about the actual personality, that their inner strengths, their natural strengths that they've got, which is not, and they can be really, really valuable in your business. For example, connecting people. If someone's really good at connecting people, is your business something, or is the role that you're looking for something where the people really need to be able to connect people? Or is it an ideas where you want somebody that's going to come up with all these new ideas and keep pace with, or as much as they can, with the technology, how it's changing? That's going to be far more important than someone who can add up a row of figures or knows, or whatever. Sort of exactly as you're saying. You can, technology is taking over the sort of like the doing part, the skill, the workforce skills. It's more about the natural skills that you have and the natural talents now, and that's what businesses should be looking at. As how does this fit together as a team?
Yeah.
How is this going to work as a team? Not, I need someone to do this, therefore I'm going to employ this person because they're very good at doing something that's work based. It's they've got to get more about the people based rather than the work based, and making them feel valued, because
right.
if your skills are being used, you feel valued, and then you don't, you're staying in your role, in your job.
Well, and what we know is that also the National Career Association basically said that people are happiest and perform best when their natural abilities are used to the fullest. I mean, why, kind of if I can put it into an industry or a kind of job function, like the military globally does this really, really well, where every single person is going through testing everything, and then they kind of choose where they want to go, and then out of that you get people. You still have the whole military using a gun, for example. I mean, I don't want to talk about weapons and things, but as an example, as a specific example, you have them using weapons. But there's so many now different weapons that people can do. Use. There's sniper rifles. There's there's infantry. There's so many different elements that come into play here. Is that when we look at this as a business function, like how do you think that people are like? What do you think business owners are really struggling with right now in terms of being able to apply this thought process into their current teams or the current structure that they have? Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty that comes from it. It's like, I don't want to change anything because then, I might disrupt my business. But what do you think the biggest problem is that they're struggling with right now to solve as a business owner?
to move away from that you want somebody to do a job to you want the right person. They have just got in their head that, I need somebody who's good at finance to take on this finance role. Now, I'm not saying you don't need they've got to have some sort of aptitude, but it's all about the right person fitting in. If somebody really struggles, somebody could be really good at finance but really struggles to be in an office all day long, really struggles to be on their own, so you're going to have a very unhappy person because in the wrong environment if you employ them, whereas it could be that someone who is happy to be on their own, but then has the ability to learn what they need to do. Then you're going to have someone who is happy because they're happy in their environment. It's also about the businesses allowing you to be you and accepting. And sometimes people don't actually admit what they're good at, or they feel a bit sort of like embarrassed by it, or nobody's going to want to employ me if I'm, for example, if I like to be on my own all the time, they're just going to think I'm unsociable, or the vice versa. Nobody's going to employ me if I'm because they're going to think I'm too chatty or whatever. But it's about being in the right environment for that, and owning yourself. And it's that the businesses need to accept that people are different and go for the people skills, because the people then will actually move their businesses in the direction they need to if you've got the right people in the right place.
And what do you think about this, like in a more of a corporate environment? For example, we know that when managers are less experienced, they seem to surround themselves with people that they get on well with. How do you think this is affecting, the results of large corporates, for example, at the moment?
Oh, very much so, because you're kind of attracted to the people that, like you say, that you are like you, and that you and that you trust. But it's not about that. It's about the right people. It's about having the whole ethos of the company being about, we're here because of our values is what it comes down to. And and going back to your happiness score and all that, because we're happy to be here, and we have the commonality of to get on with each other, in which case then we will work together. So often in businesses, you're promoted because you're good at one thing, but actually your promotion means that you're then doing something that is really not your skill strength. Really not. And it's about recognizing that, and not everybody wants to do that. And what are the skill strengths of the managers? They don't need to. How are they going to manage, and what help do they need?
And they're getting younger and younger, and there's reasons why they're getting younger and younger. It's because they're cheaper, obviously. When you've had someone that's worked in a big company for, 20 or 30 years, they become very expensive to that business. And as costs and et cetera rise, it really does become, the question of the executive or whatever it is to be like, well, can we get someone to do that job? Even though that they may not do the job well, those companies might be so structured or micromanaged or, system driven, that they are okay with the attrition of that situation. So, from that angle, I love what you're saying. Going back to what you said about being more people, hire for people-based roles as opposed to based on function-based roles, and having the base skill sets. But how do people measure this today? What can a business owner do right now, for example, to learn more about, not only just the people, but how do they evolve their business or their team or whatever it is to be more function-based as opposed to, I guess career. What's the word I'm looking for? As opposed to, job-based.
So if they know their employees, starting with themselves, if they know themselves and their strengths, etc., and what they need to outsource.
Probably the first problem, right, is that the leaders don't know themselves in this. Anyway.
Yeah. So it's always start from yourself, right, and know yourself and your strengths, and then what you need to outsource. If you know also the personal strengths and that sort of thing of all of your management team, your leadership team, and don't be hung up on role. So, you know, if it's finance, it's only to do with finance, or if it's sales, it's only to do with sales, because there can be strengths in people that cross over. So it's about them matching the person to the role that suits them, or the job that not the job. I'm trying not to use the word role or job, but the function that they do the best. So you've got then, and then having those clearly defined responsibilities so everybody knows who to go to, who's the best person for that responsibility, that role, and then going from there. And I mean, I've worked with companies where they've just looked at every single employee, sort of done the personality test, looked at and then sort of analysed it, worked with them, and then actually tweaked roles and put people in different roles, because actually that suits that person much more. And then that makes that person has just changed, and the whole company has just changed, because everybody is then doing what they enjoy doing. And retention is there then, because why would you want to leave if you're doing something you really like? Money isn't always the driver. In fact, money is often not the driver. Happiness and enjoying what you do comes far above money for most people.
And I love that, because what I hear you saying is it's almost like the worse the job is, the more you have to be chasing money to make it what's the word, acceptable for yourself. Whereas, you know, you kind of then are going off in this tangent or direction, or working towards something that maybe is just, you know, it's just not worth it anymore. You know, you know, the biggest regret of people, or, you know, when they are on their deathbed, for example, is that they didn't fight for themselves, or they didn't stand up for themselves, or they didn't do more things that they enjoyed every day. But like, when you're at that moment, at the end, you can't go back. You can't, you know, it can't be like, oh, I just want to go for that one last walk, or I just want to, you know, go and have that one last whatever. And this doesn't mean, you know, sell your house and go travel the world and you know, become a whatever. But it's a very interesting concept, because you can actually live a normal life, but actually be happier in your job every day and earn what you're worth. And that is, it's going to be such an interesting change, because one of the things I want to kind of get into here is that, you know, Teamer App's whole mission is to equip business owners and team leaders so that they can measure their team's you know, aptitudes and personality types, and then giving them the resources and tools and coaching to be able to make those changes confidently. So you work with us on Teamer App. You know, we do personality profiling. You are a specialist in 3 different ones: wealth dynamics, talent dynamics, and talent dynamics for young people. So you work with students, you work with adults, you work with teams, you work with business owners, etc. What has been the biggest shift that you've seen from where people are before they work with you compared to when they work after they've been through profiling, etc., and work with you on the implementation?
It's about being able to accept what they are, their strengths and their talents, and then being able to work to their strengths and talents. Often we don't know this. Often it's that light bulb moment. I've had so many calls with people and meetings with people where, you know, I've talked about their strengths and this is, or their challenges, and this is why this happens. I thought everybody did this, or I thought I'd be, you know, that's not what I should be doing. No, kind of own who you are. And then it also gives them the courage and the ability to actually, with permission almost, to be themselves, and then to move in the direction that they want to go. And you know, this happens right, you know, at whatever level you are. You know, being that you're starting out, I don't need to do this. I'm going to give you an example. So somebody, a young person I worked with, he was becoming, I mean, he was just about to go to uni, and he was becoming really unhappy because the college was telling him to go what to do one course, his parents were telling him to do another. He didn't want to do any of that, and he just then said, you know, I don't think I'm even going to bother. And it's and then you think that's a waste, isn't it, for this? It was a grade 8 student, and actually I worked with him, and what it discovered is because his parents were saying, you like doing this, you do this all day, this is what you do at home all the time, why don't you follow that path? No, because that's my leisure. His school was saying, you're really good at numbers, therefore you need to, funny enough, an accountant, you need to go down that route. No, because I'm really good at numbers, but it doesn't interest me. I don't want to sit there doing that all day long. Actually, when we looked even further, what he really liked doing things, he really liked making things, he really liked seeing things come to life, etc. What he actually went on to be was an engineer. And as soon as we started exploring about him being an engineer, his whole life changed, and now he's a really successful engineer. So it's just about allowing yourself to be you, and really exploring what is it I really want, what really help, what do I want to do, what really excites me, and then just pursuing it. Allowing you to be you. And that's what the businesses need to do as well. Allow their staff to be them. What fits where.
I suppose the biggest kind of challenge there is that with the if the individual does it or doesn't do it, the financial impact may be not that great at that moment. But when a business is making these changes, like, it could really affect the success or the failure of the business. Is 50-50 chance as well. Maybe businesses are not doing it because they're willing to just keep going in the same format and grow, as opposed to those companies which really make everlasting change and get people that become advocates for their business and their life and really influence their customers. Because that's one of the things. It's not just about profits. It's about how you influence the customers as well at the same time.
Yeah.
And helping them to do better and to do more. Sally, what can people do today? People that don't know about profiling, they don't know about, they maybe not have access to resources or whatever it is, like, what would be the first kind of steps that you think people can take today that they can to, understand themselves better and just start moving in the right direction?
So I'm going to say profiling because I use this all the time. But you need a profiling tool that gives you a bit more than putting you in a box, because most of them do just put you in a box. So you're just doing the same as what you do for what your boss is going to do, or your company. So you want that personal side of it as well. You can start off with understanding that, the basis, and then you want that personal side as well, that real personal debrief to understand you. And then that helps you to, in understanding you, it's about moving forward. So this is what team is about, isn't it? I mean, having looked at, this is what team is about. Actually, it's all about you and understanding you. But as I say, not just a box. So not just like, so we're all, we're the same, we've come out the same, so therefore we've got the same profile, therefore we're exactly the same. No, we are all different, and being you. So having that good profiling, and then going from there, and owning yourself. This is me. This is who I am. There, this is what I want to do.
Do you think that that social media at the moment really influences people in making these decisions at the moment? And when you say be yourself, like, how can one be oneself when social media is such a negative space? And I say it's a negative space, but I mean, it has obviously its positives, of course, but there's that fakeness, or that dream life that people seem to put out there that make it really difficult for everyday people to be content or happy or more confident in themselves, because they are comparing themselves to those kind of people. Like, what would your advice be in people today, any age group, like, in being more content with themselves and being able to say, this is me, this, as you said, like, this is who I am, and this is the direction I'm going in, without repercussion?
So a saying was once said to me, and forgive me, I don't know who the person is, but where it originated from. I know who said it to me, but they were not the person who did it. And that is, comparison is the thief of joy. And when you think about that, as soon as you start comparing yourself with other people, you are taking away what you're doing. And we all achieve in some way. We all succeed in some way. It's about, don't be afraid to ask for help, because no one was born knowing everything. Everybody's had to learn at some time. It's just, where you've got to. And admit when things are not going right and assess why. You know, if you don't admit to other people, admit it to yourself.
Wow.
And then think why. So be
I
true to yourself.
just got shivers when you said that. It's like, if you can't admit it to other people, admit it to yourself. Um, that's amazing. And wow, it really was impactful on me. I had these shivers going down my spine. Oh, whoa, that was something. But anyway, the quote is Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, thank you. I'm rubbish on on who says that. I know the quotes, I just don't know who says them. But yeah, and it comes back to, you know, yes, you've got to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And think about why, you know, why that happened, and don't dwell on things that happened in the past. You know, sort of like, oh, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done that. You can't change the past. You can only change the future. So therefore, you did whatever you did in the past, you did for a reason, and it was the right reason at that time. It may now not seem as if it was the right reason, but you did it and it was for the right reason. So move on from it and take the learning from it. And
Wow.
it's just kind of like, don't be afraid to reach out.
Don't be afraid to reach out. That's another quote. I mean, that's I went through, as you know, a very tough time last year, and one of the commonalities of what people said to me was, you know, when you're feeling so low, or you're so low, or you're in that negative space, all you have to do is reach out. And to be honest with you, the last thing that I wanted to do was reach out to anybody. So building trust in yourself and surrounding yourself with the tools and the equipment and the people who are going to keep you moving forward are going to be the real success in your life going forward. Because one thing I've really known is that, you know, we all have the people we trust, and most of those times it's the people that are closest to us. Are those the people that we should be telling about our dreams and stories? Probably absolutely not, because they're going to tell you that you're doing something wrong, or it's whatever. Like, they have this opinion, and it's such a shame, because I think there's so many people that have amazing ideas in the world that just don't do it, because the people that they trust the most are giving them the worst advice. So
Yeah.
So I have this with, like, for example, you know, a few mentors that I work with in different areas, and a few coaches that support me, each in a specific area of life and in business, etc. And I only ask those people specific questions that are specifically relevant. But coming back to my original point was, you know, the lesson for me is that I really gotten to a point where I did not want to ask anybody for help or advice or guidance or anything, you know, when I was at the lowest of my lowest space. So this is really a personal story, so that other people who maybe connect with this understand that, you know, I know you don't want to reach out to anybody. I know you don't want to ask for help. I know you don't want to do that. But the interesting lesson is that the people that you think help you the least actually are the people that help you the most. And I had this with a very good friend of mine, you know, Michelle Clark, obviously. And one of my investors in Stigma app mentioned to me, you know, reconnect with her, whatever it was. And I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't want to connect with anyone. And I did it. And I told her, you know, she was like, you know, how things going. And once somebody asks you from a place of love what's going on, you open up and you probably share a lot more than you should. And she was the first person that really helped me to get out of my situation. But the key was, I didn't ask for that help because I didn't want to ask for any help. It just was the environment that made that shift and made that change for me. So again, this goes back to this whole thing that you said, is like, measure where you're at. Like, just decide today how you feel, and then from there you can surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up and put you on another level.
And I personally have been through kind of what we're talking about today. So, you know, as I said to you, I was a teacher for 25 years. And I loved, originally I loved my job, and even when I stopped teaching, I still loved teaching. I still loved the children part of it, right? But what happened over the years is I definitely grew out of love with the rest of the job, as in all the paperwork and the bureaucracy, etc. But I kind of felt I didn't, you know, what else can I do? So, and I was then of an age where, well, I've just got to see this out, haven't I? Because, you know, what else do I do? And it was only because of what happened to my husband in being made redundant and then sort of not having any income that we had to reassess. He had to reassess his life. And that was really hard, and he did exactly the same as you and Danny, in the fact that he didn't want anybody else's help. He didn't want to reach out to anybody, but I was there and I just could see what was happening. So
which was
yes,
the lucky part.
yeah. So then it was like, so okay, so I've got to do something about this. And in helping him, it made me reassess my life, to change my life, and then actually got out of teaching because we started to build a business, which we, as I say, we built 4 businesses since then. And we realized we could do it now. But what was happening was my self-realization in the fact that, so I can do this. What's stopping me? Why if other people can do this, what makes them any different to me? So it's a complete different mindset.
Yeah.
But actually it was because it was I needed to support. And then it went, and I'll say to anybody, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because the background wasn't there, and and the mindset wasn't there. So it's about having that change, and understanding yourself and that determination. And I always remember that when we were sitting in a lecture of some sort about sort of like when we were just starting out, I remember my husband writing down, the only person who can make this work is me. And I thought that was really quite profound. And I saw him write that down. And from then it was like, yeah, but I'm going to be there as well. And I'm going to do it as well. So it's about actually believing in yourself. And we all have to believe in ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? There's nothing, I talked in another podcast about, the success line, and my realization that I was always chasing the success line, but I kept pushing the success line away because of, other influences. And then through development and through time, and realizing that, bloody hell, the success line is way behind me already now. So, it's all of that kind of individual path. And I love that quote, can you say it again? I would love that. Is it the only person that can make this happen is me? Is that
the only person who can make this happen? Yeah, is me.
Oh, thank you, Kevin Cope, for that amazing. Put that up.
and that come from a person who was at probably the lowest point near enough the lowest point he could ever have been. Has ever been in his life. And he had that realization that actually it's not about what anybody else is telling me to do or whatever. It's about what I want to do, about me, and yeah.
And then adding on the other side to there is that when you start to understand yourself, and this is my own, learning, is that when you start to understand yourself better, you then get to go, this social media posting, wow, I'm really not good at it, or I don't enjoy it, or whatever it is. And then ask the question about who can do that, so I can do the other stuff that I'm really good at. And this is the approach that we take in our businesses. We've just hired Jev, who is here to help myself and Anastasia in building, both Team App as well as, the Trusted Sales Academy and All Things Business Guy. And it was just like, I'm really bad at consistency. It's like, well, that was the question, like, who's going to help me to be more consistent every single day? I get it. I'm going to get this type of profile that I'm looking for, and one of the questions I asked, she told me about, interviews, was that she was saying that, a lot of the time she spent, speaking to clients on the phone. And I immediately said to her, because we profiled her before we interviewed, and we said, don't worry, in this business, you will not be phoning any clients on the phone. And I could see this huge relief, coming over her, because I know at that moment that, she will engage with clients, but if she can do it over text or WhatsApp or email or Messenger, whatever it is, she can do that. And there's no stress and no drama. It's that anxiety of being a non-people based person speaking to people, definitely causes a lot of anxiety. But that's just, just how we apply it in our business. So definitely reach out, have a chat to Sally, have a chat to me, comment below, subscribe to our channel, opt in, get our newsletters, just like be a part of this whole community and this whole network of, All Things Business Guy. And if you recommend anybody that you think should be, that I should be having a conversation with, please get in touch. Would love to interview ordinary people that are just doing extraordinary things. And Sally, before we go, I'm kind of trying this thing out, okay? So it might be successful, it might be complete disaster, but I'm loving this whole idea of doing a real-based word association. So you haven't seen the words. I've got like a random bunch of words that I got from ChatGPT, and I'm going to do it in like 10 seconds. And the idea is that you shout out a word that is associated to what I'm going to be saying. And don't worry, I'm not going to throw you into the lion's den, but I'm going to kick it off in 3, 2, 1. COVID.
Disaster.
Love.
Important.
Team.
Extremely important. Vital. Vital.
You.
Mad.
Me.
Wonderful.
God.
Non-believer.
Okay. Work.
Work. Sorry, was that work? Yeah. Work. Not a task.
Oh, you had to think about that one.
I did.
And the last word, trust.
Vital.
Right. Well, I'm going to close it off there. Sally, thank you for being my wonderful, gorgeous guest today. So much value to add. We're going to be also, writing some articles and some blogs and things about this as well. And please get in touch, follow, subscribe, and we look forward to see you on the other side. Thank you very much for joining me, Sally, and thank you to all of our listeners today.
It's lovely. Thank you very much for inviting me.